This video is not intended for children.
Hello everyone. Our topic this week was requested by the Irish Viking. We'll be going over the Avvar from the Dragon Age franchise. Spoilers for the Dragon Age media. Les deux.
So the Avvar are one of the more prominent barbarian tribes that the Dragon Age fanbase have been exposed to, and they're one of the three primary human cultures that occupy the country of Ferelden. The others being the Fereldans themselves and the Chastened, a separate group of barbarian tribes. Each of the Dragon Age games takes place on the continent of Thedas. We know that other continents exist, but they've only been referenced in the games or extended media, never seen. One of the reasons we know other continents exist, however, is because all humans on Thedas come from one of these other lands. Nearly 4,000 years before the games take place, a single tribe of humans made landfall on northern Thedas, and over the following centuries would expand through the rest of the continent, encountering the elves and the dwarves who already lived there. This single initial tribe split into dozens if not hundreds more, which would eventually go on to become the founding civilizations for most of the human countries seen in the game's modern day. This includes the various peoples of Ferelden.
The original barbarian tribes that settled Thedas eventually formed the Tevinter Imperium, while the tribes that expanded and had settled into what eventually became Ferelden were collectively known as the Alamari. The Alamari were not a single unified people, rather a loose collection of interrelated tribes at peace with one another as often as they were at war. Like most of Thedas, the Alamari were conquered by the Tevinter Imperium for several centuries. However, after Tevinter was weakened by the occurrence of the First Blight, a massive outbreak of monster hordes that poisoned the land and crushed everything in its path, the Alamari formed a coalition working with other clans and elves to drive back the Tevinter Imperium. This coalition was led in part by Andraste, an Alamari woman who would later come to be known as the prophet and bride of the Maker, the patron deity of the Chantry and most of humanity in the game's modern-day setting. Before Tevinter could be conquered completely, however, Andraste was betrayed, given to Tevinter, and executed, while the leaders of the Alamari rebellion were given much of southern Thedas in recompense, including the lands that would eventually become Ferelden. For more information on how all of that went down, check out our videos on Tevinter, the Chantry, and the Blight, here.
Long story short, the Alamari of Ferelden would eventually break into three tribes: the Avvar, the Chastened, and the Clane. The Clane would eventually form the nation of Ferelden, and by choice or force, the Avvar and Chastened were either absorbed or pushed out to the fringes of the country, with the Chastened primarily making their homes in the swamps of the southern Korkori wilds, while the Avvar made their homes in the western Frostback Mountains. Exactly how much Avvar culture has changed since the days of the Alamari is unclear, though we know enough to say that the Avvar way of life is much closer to the ways of their ancestors than, say, the modern Fereldans, who've adopted a classically European medieval fantasy lifestyle. In contrast, the Avvar live as either a hunter-gatherer or mountain farming and herding lifestyle, with hunting thrown in for good measure, depending upon where in the mountains they live and the resources available to the clan in question. As might be guessed by their names, the Frostback Mountains are known for especially long and harsh winters, and as such, the Avvar spend the vast majority of their time in subsistence living, growing or hunting the food they need for the day, as well as storing whatever food they can for the winter, when farming becomes impossible and both hunting and fishing game becomes more scarce. The Avvar do employ traders, though their numbers are comparatively few, as the Frostbacks act as a natural barrier between the countries of Orlais and Ferelden, and also hold one of the most prominent entrances to the dwarven capital, Orzammar. The Avvar have their pick of places to trade their goods for far-flung rarities or anything they can't produce on their own. Primarily, they trade with the dwarves, however, as they are closer than the others, and the two cultures have a long-standing good relationship, with the dwarves providing excellent quality weapons and tools, while the Avvar grant the dwarves access to the best mountain passes and guides, and also act as a deterrent for the beasts of the mountains and nefarious elements from either Ferelden or Orlais.
Like the Alamari of old, the Avvar are not a single united people. Rather, they are a collection of tribes and clans. They have a unified and deeply spiritual culture, but exact rituals, rites, practices, cultural legends, and even recognized gods vary from one clan to the next. In the broadest sense, the three most central aspects of Avvar culture are spiritualism, honor, and impermanence. Unlike most humans across Thedas, the Avvar do not worship the Maker. They are not culturally members of the Chantry. Rather, they worship a myriad of ancient gods and recognize the various spirits of the Fade as being gods in their own right. And while that would sound terrifying to many Andrastians in modern Thedas, if the accounts regarding magic and spirits in ancient times before the construction of the Veil, the barrier between the Fade, the dream world, and source of all magic, and the real world, found in text or told by Solus are to be believed, the Avvar have arguably one of the most healthy relationships with spirits seen depicted anywhere in the games. The primary gods worshipped by the Avvar are Korth, the Mountain Father, the Lady of the Skies, and Hakon Winter's Breath. Various clans may have other gods they pay homage to as well, but all Avvar clans revere these three.
Korth is the eldest and most powerful. The Avvar believe that everything from the Frostback Mountains stem from him. Caves found at its surface were carved for their shelter and safety. Fish, game, and good harvests are all gifts of his benevolence. And when any of these are scarce, the Avvar seek to understand how they've angered Korth and appease him through gifts, offerings, or the completion of trials as they deem necessary. They do the same when they believe they've angered any of their gods. The Lady of the Skies presides over all that lies above Korth's domain. She is also the goddess of the dead. When an Avvar dies, their body is laid out upon the stone of the mountain to desiccate in the open air, returning the flesh and bones of the Avvar to Korth from whence they came, while the lady's birds feast on the flesh and carry the souls of the honored dead to the afterlife. Hakon is the god of winter and war. His frozen embrace both releases the dead to the lady's domain and protects the Avvar from invasion, while training for war strengthens the Avvar and warms them in the midst of the bitter cold.
On top of this, though, most clans have a number of watchful, friendly spirits that call the clan hold home. Where most practitioners of magic throughout Thedas, particularly those under the rule of the Chantry, eschew all spirits as malign demons and thus fear possession of their mages by said demons, Avvar mages actively encourage the possession of spirits for aid, guidance, and power. All spirits have a natural form, but spirits also respond to the will and expectation of those around them, particularly mages. See our video on Magic and the Fae for more details there, but basically, if you expect a spirit that is summoned to be a hostile, terrible force, it's more likely to manifest as such, and vice versa. Avvar evidently understand this, as all young mages are taught magic through a combination of instruction by an Elder Avvar, as well as through temporary possession by a friendly spirit that helps guide them in the process of learning magic. However, as noted, the Avvar seem to understand the mutable nature of spirits, and so all mages, particularly those in training, are closely watched to ensure that neither the spirit nor the mage are corrupted. If such a mage turns hostile, they are dealt with as needed, whether by banishment or death. If it's something less inherently harmful to the clan, such as a young mage's unwillingness to part with their tutor's spirit, the mage is simply exiled from the clan until they man up and set the spirit free. In this way, spirits may hang around holds for generations, granting what wisdom or guidance they can when called upon, and granting power or advanced warning in the face of danger. Most interesting about the relationship with spirits, however, is what the Avvar do if a spirit is destroyed, most commonly when the person or creature they're possessing is slain once the two are so joined. Should a hold spirit be killed, the Avvar commence a year-long process of rituals, rites, and prayers, which, by the end, summon a new spirit to take the fallen one's place. This is even done should one of the three great gods be slain.
The Avvar are also, in general, people of honor and integrity. An Avvar's word is meant to be their bond, whether it's a promise or pact made between the lowliest clansmen or between two entire clans. Cunning clan leaders can usually find loopholes in such oaths if they deem it necessary, but the practice is still frowned upon, barring understandable circumstances such as survival of the clan or betrayal of the oath by the other party. As a part of this society of honor and valor, the Avvar despise being captured by their enemies, and will often seek to die in battle or end their own life rather than be caught by enemies of the clan to be used against their people. Those who are captured and later liberated can suffer punishment for their weakness, which can range from slight to severe depending upon the situation. Though based upon context clues from the games, death is rarely exacted as punishment in these cases.
The final aspect of Avvar life is the constant existence and embrace of the fleeting impermanence of life. Most tribes, for example, live their lives moving from one hunting or farming ground to another as the seasons change. One tribe may subsist only in tents, while another lives primarily in one place with more permanent structures, while a third may weave a combination between the two, with a handful of semi-permanent settlements that they travel between from season to season. Even the oaths mentioned above are never made for time and eternity, with circumstances, new oaths, new alliances, or the like rendering them obsolete or invalid, and this is understood and accepted as simply being the way of things. Even names and marriages are temporary. The naming conventions of the Avvar vary from clan to clan, but if, for example, a person's parents die, the child must go through a ritual honoring their fallen progenitor in order to keep that surname. Similarly, even weddings are temporary, and the process of getting married is exemplary of the mercurial nature of life. To aid in cultural diversity by breathing new life into old clans, young men and women are encouraged to marry outside of their home clan, with a common practice being the kidnapping of the bride in question from her mother clan.
There is a decorum to this, however, with aspirant clansmen speaking privately with clan leaders declaring their intentions beforehand, so that they don't wake up in the morning and start a blood feud between clans or something. But that doesn't mean that they make it easy on them. It is then the groom's mission to actually sneak into the clan and abduct his bride without being caught. A clan makes no special preparations to make this any easier, and while if a would-be groom is caught once, they generally get off with little more than a beating. Subsequent failures may in fact lead to his death. The women are not passive in this ritual either. A man seeking a woman's hand can speak to her beforehand, acquiring her consent and possibly her aid in the process, or her denial in the understanding that she will not make the abduction easy. She can also make her interest in a man known, leading him to make the proper arrangements thereafter. Even assuming the abduction goes off well, however, the importance of change and impermanence in the culture is signified in the marriage ceremony. As part of the wedding, the bride sings a single hymn to one of the Avvar gods. While she does this, the groom is given a tangled set of difficult knots. The number of knots he can loose while she sings indicates the number of years the two shall be married. And yes, if a groom somehow fails to untie a single knot, the marriage is immediately voided. The two can remarry when their appointed marriage ends, but there is no cultural pressure to do so, and no shame in either remarrying each other, marrying another, or spending the rest of their lives single. In this way, the Avvar have lived for generations, and though their numbers have slowly dwindled in the harsh winters of the Frostbacks, their people stand firm and strong as ever.
And that's basically the Avvar, mountain tribesmen of the Dragon Age verse. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like and maybe share it with someone you know might like it. If you have ideas for videos you'd like to see in the future, do like the Irish Viking and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore, let's play, or other, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been True Masters and Morons, signing off. Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to see more like it, hit that subscribe orb.
To see our last Let's Play, click or tap the link on the right.
For our last lore video, click the link on the left.
Thank you to all of our patrons for making these videos possible.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.